The only question that matters, the only question, is how does intervening in Ukraine help the core interests of the United States? And of course, that is the one question no one in Washington is asking. Watch the Pentagon's obedient little flack, a man with so little dignity he'll say whatever he's told to say, brag about how much military equipment we are now sending to Ukraine. And notice as you watch this tape that he never even thinks about explaining why we would be sending that military equipment.
We have provided millions of dollars worth of lethal and non-lethal assistance to Ukraine in just the last, 10 months, 11 months. Nothing has changed about our commitment to making sure that Ukraine has what it needs to defend itself.
So say what you will about Donald Trump and his Twitter account. Maybe you liked him, maybe you were appalled by his personal style. But in retrospect, if there is one thing that Donald Trump deserves eternal credit for, it's keeping idiots like that in their box for 4 years. There were no pointless wars under Donald Trump. That is not a small thing in recent American history. In fact, it's rarely happened over the past century. But through unwavering determination, for which he has not gotten credit, if there's one thing he deserves credit for, it's this: Donald Trump pulled that off. He resisted again and again when members of Congress and guys from Raytheon, when all the interested parties pushed him to go to war here, there, and everywhere, Donald Trump resisted that. And in Washington, above all, they hated him for that. In the end, they impeached him for it.
As one witness put it during our impeachment inquiry, the United States aids Ukraine and her people so that we can fight Russia over there and we don't have to fight Russia here.
Really? We're going to fight Russia here, are we, Adam Schiff? Adam Schiff, of course, a dumb person and a partisan Democrat. But what's so interesting, and ought to make you sit up and pay attention, is suddenly partisan Republicans are making identical noises. Just this afternoon, Senator Roger Wicker of Mississippi, not a genius famously, but still a sitting Republican senator, went on Fox News to say we may need to send American troops to Ukraine, and possibly, because this isn't insane or anything, think about the use of nuclear weapons. Got that in our back pocket. Nuclear weapons. Roger Wicker, sitting U.S. Senator. No one in Washington laughed at Roger Wicker. This is so crazy that no one seems aware of how crazy it is. They're all just sitting back and listening to Toria Nuland tell them what we need to do. How much has this penetrated the psyche of Washington, D.C.? Well, here's a sad piece of tape. This is Joni Ernst, who's a totally affable, nice Republican, sort of reasonable on most things from the Midwest, suddenly sounding like a bloodthirsty warmonger, sounding a lot like, actually, Adam Schiff when she talks about that dastardly Vladimir Putin.
He needs to say to Vladimir Putin that we are no longer going to allow you to continue with the Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We need you to know and understand that we will defend Ukraine. We will provide them assistance. He needs to make that very clear.
Putin is so bad, we're going to cut off natural gas to Western Europe in retaliation against him in December. We're going to freeze Germany and Luxembourg, and that's going to teach Vladimir Putin. Again, what you just saw there is a child who has no idea what she's talking about, but keeps talking anyway. We will defend Ukraine, says Joni Ernst. Remember, this is a senator from Iowa. So what happens if we don't defend Ukraine, Joni Ernst? Will kids in Des Moines grow up to speak Russian? No one asked her that question. She's never thought about it for a moment. They're all just reading from the same talking points, from Adam Schiff to Roger Wicker to Joni Ernst. It turns out that foreign lobbying campaigns work pretty well, and that's why the Ukrainians paid for one in Washington. So where's all this going exactly? What can we expect over the next month or two? Colonel Douglas Macgregor has thought a lot about it. He's lived a lot of this stuff. He joins us now to assess. Doug, thanks so much for coming on. Where is this going, do you think?
Well, based upon your monologue, it's hard to tell right now, but certainly the destination is the land of the stupids. You know, what's really disturbing is that this is the eve of the 80th anniversary of Pearl Harbor, an event that dragged us into a two-front war for which we were completely unprepared. And listening to the comments by Wicker and others, it strikes me that Joe Biden has lots of friends on the Hill, all of which are living with him in the early 1990s. They seem to think that Russia is prostrate, that Russia has no alternative but to submit to whatever we tell it to do. which of course is ridiculous. If we challenge Russia on its doorstep, and by doorstep I mean eastern Ukraine, militarily, we will be defeated. That's not an if, that's a certainty. And if we are stupid enough to consider the use of nuclear weapons to rescue our conventional failure, well, then we're courting the destruction of the known world, frankly, and that's something we should avoid. We have really only one interest. You asked the key question, what is our interest in Ukraine or Russia in that area for that matter? We have one interest, Tucker. That is to prevent a war from breaking out between Ukraine and Russia, a bloody war with implications involving refugees and millions of people being displaced from their homes, moving west into Europe. We have an interest in preventing that. We have an interest in preventing a war in that region that could spread rapidly across the Black Sea, involve Turkey, involve Iran. We don't know. So we have an interest in doing that. And we know that if we can prevent it, we have to compromise. And compromise is the way to ensure that Ukrainians, the majority of them who are Ukrainian, will live in a free and independent Ukraine. We're not doing any of those things. We're bent on some sort of revenge mission, which makes no sense, to humiliate and harm Russia. Why is beyond me. This is not the Soviet Union. This is Russia, a Russian state that rests on the foundation of Orthodox Christianity. It's back to what it has been for 1,000 years. We should celebrate that, not try to destroy it.
Maybe that's one of the reasons we are trying to destroy it.
Could be.
Could be. Douglas Macgregor, a wise man. Wish you're in charge. Thank you so much for joining us tonight for that analysis.
Thank you.